DJI just released a new firmware for the Mavic Mini, and that's super exciting. I almost missed that update because I've been flying a lot with my Mavic 2 Pro lately in this beautiful weather to capture some of those money shots. And you might be wondering, why are you using the Mavic 2 Pro apart from the obvious reason that it's the better camera? That is because I have better control of the video settings. With the Mavic Mini, you have no manual control of the exposure, or do you? Let's look into that after the intro. Welcome to another video. I'm Henrik Olsen, and if you want to learn how to make better videos with your drone and camera in general, then consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss out on future updates. So I said I almost missed this update, and some of you were very kind writing me an email telling me about it, and I was pretty excited when I saw it. Because one of the major updates of this firmware update is that you now have access to manual exposure in video mode. You have been able to do that in photo all the time, but not in video mode. And it's so funny because I got a lot of hate a few months back when I did one of my famous videos, what I hate about the Mavic Mini. And everybody was yelling at me, oh, yeah, they won't add pro features to the drone, da, da, da. What are you thinking about at this low price level? And there seems to be a lot of experts out there that know the exact bill of material of what DJI is paying for the materials, since they can spit out that kind of advice. But in the meantime, DJI has actually added two of the things that I was missing the most. The last update, that was the manual white balance, where we can set the white balance so it doesn't shift when you fly around. And secondly, with this upgrade, you would get the possibility to manual set your exposure. The advantage of having manual exposure control in video is that it now can justify using ND fillers to slow down that shutter so you can generate that buttery smooth motion blur that we all want on our footage. It's not only about the motion blur, it's also about getting smooth footage that is not choppy and jerky. Let's take off and test out this new option and talk about some of the other options that you get with the new firmware v01.00.0500. I probably should write that on the screen. So nice here. And I'm sorry I have to wear the sunglasses because I can't see anything without sunglasses. So we can take off, and I have mounted a ND16 neutral density filter from Freewell directly on the drone. This is normally what I need to slow down the shutter in bright sunlight like this. So let's take off. Ooh, those branches. Let's just turn on the video recording. Let's fly out here. And just park the drone here for a while. And let's look into the settings. So what we can do now is that we can switch on this auto icon down here in the lower right corner. That one was grayed out before and we couldn't touch that. But if I touch that right now, you would see that I would actually gain access to the 3 parameters, or actually only the 2 parameters in the exposure triangle: ISO and the shutter speed and the aperture. The aperture you can't control because this is a fixed camera drone. So there's no way of changing that parameter. So in the interface, you would only have the shutter speed, and you would have the ISO, and you will have an indicator that will tell you, depending on the number, if your footage is over or underexposed. And as we can see here now, it's 0.7 stop overexposed. And to recap, 1 stop is the amount of light that either halves or doubles the amount of light through the lens. And that also matches very well with the sky being shown with the zebra stripes being overexposed. So let's go in here and fiddle around with this. The ISO, that value we want to keep as low as possible. You can see what happens here. If I try to adjust this up, this is the digital gain of the sensor. And if I increase that, I will simply just make the image brighter. And if it's bright daylight, you don't want to make that one brighter. So let's put that down on 100. That will give you the darkest image at the best image quality. Then we can start to mess around with the shutter. What you will see now, I would need to adjust the shutter up to maybe 1/200 to make everything correctly exposed. What you can see down in the corner is that the picture is slightly underexposed with 0.3 stop. So let's just film a little bit here, maybe fly a little bit forward here. And this is with a ND16, and that actually turns out that this ND16 filter is not dark enough for me to slow down the shutter speed to the level that I want. And for people that have been following the channel for a while would know that what I'm aiming to get is to go at the double of the frame rate that I'm using. So in the ideal world, if I had to have maximum motion blur here, I would have to go for something for 1/60. But I will give you a small tip. You need to avoid rapid movements because motion blur is only being introduced when there's motion in the picture. So even if I go up to 1/200 here, I will be able to fly here just very slow. Without having to worry about my footage getting choppy and jerky. Just get it back here. So these are the parameters that you get access to with manual exposure. And let's look into some of the other features that you will get with this update. One of them is that they have added 24 FPS in both 2.7K and also in 1080p. If you go in here, you can see that under 2.7K, you would now have the option to choose 24 frames per second, where earlier you would only have access to 25 and 30. Let's just move this bastard a little bit, as it is. Even though it's not noisy, it's still noisy when it's above your head. So they have added these 24 frames per second. They have also added 48 down here under 1080p. But we can, for the sake of it, let's just record something in 48 frames per second. And let's do it the other way around here. And see, now we are turning our back to the sun, so we can decrease the shutter here. So everything is, we slow down the shutter, so maybe we can get the one, or, in this case we need to double the frame rate. So it needs to be 1/100 for this to add up. And this is 1/100, and that will tell us still that the image is slightly underexposed. And I like pictures that are slightly underexposed because that minimizes the risk of losing details in the image. It's much easier to recover details from the dark areas of the footage than it is from the blown out highlights. So that's another pro tip if you haven't caught that earlier through my videos, is that I like to underexpose my footage. So let's see. And to be able to benefit from this, I think we need to move down here. So we have something that generates motion. So we go on top of these, I don't know what it's called, hay, something that you put on top of a roof. So if I do this, you should be able to see motion blur very clearly. We can flick it into sport mode, then it's getting even more exciting. Punch it bishop, that way you should be able to see the motion blur. Ooh. I don't want to piss off this swan, so I will just go high and then go back here. No need to be selfish when you're flying your drone. You need to protect the animals. I'll just show you. It's a very beautiful animal. Let's stop this and switch it into a 2 here, there, and then back to 30 FPS. So in this way I can move towards the swan, and because it's 2.7K I can magnify it in post, so you can be able to see it. And to be honest, I can't see much here on the screen, so just need to keep an eye on the drone. And also they added some adjustment to the white balance. We got manual white balance, we got the manual white balance option with the 108 DJI Fly app update. So I don't know why they are talking about this right now. Maybe they've made the minor adjustments, but you get access to that parameter on the camera here, advanced shooting settings. And you can switch between manual and auto. And you want to keep this, when it's bright like this, around 5500 Kelvin, which is equal to normal daylight setting. So I can't see much of a difference here, so I don't know what that one is adding. And then of course they've made a lot of bug fixes and stuff. I do want to mention you need to update the DJI Fly app to the 108, I think it's called, that I covered in this video. to be able to benefit from the manual exposure in video mode, as well as the white balance. They have improved download speed from the drone. Let's just try and see if we can do that. So if I go in here, I don't know if we can do that. Can't. We just stop this one. We go in the archive here. Let's take a clip that is it's still pretty slow, so I don't want to mess around with this right now. That will take forever to get that clip down here. So it's faster, but it's still not fast enough. Then let's just do an experiment, because I really want to show you the difference of adding an ND filter in this condition in terms of your capabilities of slowing down the shutter. So let's just make a note here. This is an ND16. We are 15 meters height and 18 meters away from here. And we needed something like 1/120 to be able to get neutral exposure. Then let me just land the drone and remove the ND filter, and then you can see the difference. So let's just take off this like that. Huh, it's actually still alive. I would expect this to give me all sorts of errors. So let's just take it off again. So you see already here we are running into a lot of problems. The zebra stripe shows you that basically the whole image is overexposed. So let's see. What we need to do now is we need to go down here and we need to crank the shutter up, way up, to get neutral exposure. See, something like that. 1/2000, where we had to, where we could settle with 1/120 before. 18 meters, like that. We took a look this way. So that is approximately the same position that we had before. And what you can see here is it's basically the same. So using the filter, I could lower the shutter speed from 1/2000 down to 1/120. And that improvement alone is a major improvement in terms of the quality or smoothness of your footage. Because at 1/2000 it will be really choppy. So we put it like this, and we had the shutter set down to 1/1000. It should be enough to demonstrate my point, like that. So, and let's flick it into sport mode, like that. Then you could see the direct effect of this. Basically, when you record with a high shutter speed, you would see that it's just not nice. Oh, we didn't need to put it out of, it's not put it out of his misery, but but I said a pro tip when you're flying around without filters. So let me just show you what I would do if I ended up in a situation where I didn't have a filter. I will simply just fly slowly, because then you have no need for motion blur. So with the new firmware update, you get these additional frame rates, you get the manual exposure, you get some additional adjustments of the white balance. The improved download speed, as they claimed, I don't see a lot of improvement in that, but maybe it was because I gave up on the other one as well. That's what you get with this new firmware update, and that is a really, really great update from DJI. What? That's why I'm hand catching it all the time. I almost missed it. I almost landed next to the table. What? All right. Do you know the basics behind using ND fillers? If you want to learn more about that, then I made a video about this, and you can access this through this card. I really hope that you liked this video. If you did, then feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like it, feel free to press the dislike button twice. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you around.